Mm. So, hello everyone. I am Sarthak Pawar from third year CSE Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune. And this presentation is a part of web technology under the Department of Computer Engineering, and our faculty is Dr. Kaushalya Thopte. And this is Django presentation. So, Django is one of the most popular web frameworks built using Python. It helps developers to create powerful, secure, and scalable web applications quickly. Throughout this presentation, we will understand what Django is, why it is widely used, how its architecture works, and how we can build a web application using it. So let's begin with our presentation. Let's move towards the presentation roadmap. Before we start learning the Django, let's quickly look at the roadmap of the today's presentation. So we have decided presented into 8 sections. So next we will discuss. So first we will understand what is Django is and why it is history. What is its history? What is its important features? Next we will discuss why Django is so popular and why many companies prefer using it. After that we will learn about the MVT architecture, which is core architecture of the Django. Then we will study core components such as models, views, templates, URLs, and ORM also. Moving ahead, we will explore some advanced features like authentication, security, forms, admin panel, and REST APIs also. So we will also see some real-world applications where the Django is usually used by the companies like Instagram, Pinterest, Mozilla, and NASA. Finally, we will discuss about the advantages and limitations and future scope that include the presentation with a summary and question answer section. So let's start by understanding what is Django actually is. So what is Django? Django is a high-level web framework built using Python programming language. A framework is simply a collection of tools and libraries that makes a website development easier. Instead of writing every feature from the scratch, Django already provides many built-in features that helps developers to save the time. As shown in the slide, Django is known for the several important sections, and the first is the Python powered. So anyone familiar with the Python can easily learn Django. It's mainly used for the web development, allowing developers to create websites and web applications. Another important feature is that Django is secure by default. It already includes protection against common web security attacks. It also supports rapid development, meaning developers can build applications much more faster. So Django is also designed to create scalable applications so the projects can grow from small websites to large enterprise applications. One of the biggest strengths is the batteries included approach. This means Django already provides many useful tools such as authentication, database management, forms, and admin panel without needing additional packages. So finally, Django is the both scalable and maintainable, making it suitable for the projects of any size. As mentioned at the bottom of the slide, Django makes the difficult things easy and the easy things possible. Now, that we know about Django is. Let's see why developers choose Django over many other frameworks. So, why Django? Let's understand why Django became one of the most popular web frameworks in the world. First reason is rapid development. Since Django provides many ready-made features, developers can build applications much more faster and spend more time focusing on solving the business problems instead of writing the repetitive code. The second is the security. Django follows industry standard security practices and helps protect applications from common mistakes like SQL injection and cross-site scripting. Another reason is that Django is scalable and flexible. Whether we are building a simple college project or a large enterprise application, Django can easily handle increasing users and data. Next feature is batteries included. Django comes with a full built-in features like admin panel, authentication system, ORN forms, URL routing, and many more. It also promotes clean and pragmatic code. Developers can organize their code properly, making the projects easier to understand and maintain. Finally, Django is a large and active community. So, Django is not just a framework, it's a complete toolkit for better, better modern developing applications. So now let's take a look at history of the Django. What is the history of the Django? Django was first developed in 2003 by Adlin Holker and Samlin Wilson. Their goal was to create a framework that would help developers to build applications quickly while maintaining clean and secure code. In July 2004, Django was officially released as an open source framework under the BSD license. Between 2005 to 2008, many developers started contributing to the project. As more people joined the community, Django became a complete feature-rich framework. From 2009 onwards, Django gained worldwide popularity. Many startups and companies, organizations start using it and developing their web applications. Today, Django powers thousands of websites and applications across the world. An interesting fun fact mentioned in this slide is Django was named after the famous jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt because Adin Hollywood was a big fan of his music. Now let's understand how Django actually works internally. This slide explains the overall working process of the Django applications. Let's understand each step one by one. The process starts with a client. Where a user opens a website or clicks a button, the browser sends a request to a server. The first reaches to the URL dispatcher. The URL dispatcher checks the requested URL and decides which view should be handled and request. Next comes in the view, which text contains a business logic. The view processes the request and communicates with the model whenever the data is needed. The model is responsible for the interacting with the database. It retrieves or stores the information based on the request. After receiving the required data, the template converts data into HTML pages that users can understand. After receiving the required data, the template converts the data into HTML pages that users can understand, and this is the complete process followed by the MVT architecture, which stands for the model, view, and template. This architecture keeps the code clean, organized, and easy to maintain. So now let's study about the MVT architecture in more detail. Django MVT architecture. This slide explains the three main components of the Django MVT architecture. First component is the model. The model defines the structure of the data. It communicates with the database using a Django ORM. It is responsible for storing, retrieving, and managing the data. The second component is the view. The view receives the request from the users. It processes the business logic, communicates with the model, and prepares the required data. The third component is the template. The templates control how information is displayed to the users. They are writing using HTML along with the Django's template language. As shown in the workflow below, the user sends a request, the view processes the request, the model interacts with the database, the template generates the web page. Finally, the response is sent back to the user. So this separation of the responsibilities make the Django applications organized, reusable, and easier to maintain. So now let's compare Django with some other popular frameworks. In this slide, we compare Django with a Flask and Laravel. Django is a full stack web application while Flask is a microwave framework and the Laravel is a PHP based full stack framework. Django follows a battery included philosophy. This means many important features are already built into frameworks. So Flask follows a minimal approach. Developers need to install additional extension whenever more functionality is required. Laravel also provides many built-in features but is based on PHP instead of Python. Looking at the built-in features, Django already includes an admin panel, ORM, auth, routing, authentication system, templates, forms, migrations, and security. Django supports multiple databases such as SQLite, PostgreSQL, MySQL, and Oracle. Its learning curve is moderate, making it suitable for beginners and professionals. As mentioned at the bottom of the slide, Django's biggest strength it provides everything required to build complete web application without depending heavily on the external libraries. Now let's see how we can set up Django environment. So before the Django project, we need to prepare our development environment. So first step is to install Python. While installing the Python, we should always check the option add Python to path. A virtual environment that keeps the dependencies separate from other Python projects installed on the computer. For Windows, we use the command python -v -v -mynv. Then activate it using mynv script/activate, and then we use this. Then the third step is installing the Django. We simply run pip install Django and then verify the installation using this. Finally, we create a Django project and run the development server. So this command line example shows on the right demonstrate the complete installation process. So let's create our first Django project. Creating our first Django project. So first step is to we open the terminal and run the command Django admin start project my project. My project is our project name. This creates a new project named my project. Next we will move inside the project folder using cd my project, and then after that we start the Django development server using python manager.py run server, and then once the server starts successfully we can open our browser and visit http request. If everything is installed correctly, then we will see Django welcome page, which confirms that our project is running successfully. The terminal output shows on the right, the terminal displays the right application. This makes the successful creation of our first Django applications. Congratulations. With this, we have completed our first part of the presentation. So let's move to the next part. The Django project structure. So now we have created our first Django project, and let's understand how it is the project structure is. Every Django project follows the standard structure. Each line file has specific purpose. The first file is the manager.py, and this is the command line utility used to perform Django operations such as running the server, creating the apps, and making the migrations and many other management tasks. The next important file is the settings.py. So this file contains the project configuration including database settings, installed applications and middleware, templates and other project settings also. So after that comes a urls.py. This file responsible for URL routing. It maps a URL entered to the appropriate view. Next we have wsg.py and asg.py. So these files are used to deploying a Django project or web server. So this is the request cycle of the response cycle. So let's understand the complete flow. The first step is the browser request. Whenever a user enters a URL or clicks a link, the browser sends a HTTP request to the server. This request reaches the URL dispatcher, also called as URL configuration. So next comes with a view logic. The view processes the request, applies the business logic, and communicates with the model if the required and prepares the data. After that, Django sends the data to the template, and the template combines the data with HTML. And as the mention of the bottom of the slide, Django can take care of the flow. So developers can focusing on building application. So let's move to the core components of the Django. Before moving to the database section, let's quickly summarize what we have learned. So first takeaway is that Django is a fast and well structured. It is built-in features and predefined conventions help developers to build secure and scalable web applications quickly. The second takeaway is that Django is suitable for both beginners and professionals. Beginners find it easy because it is excellent documentation with a professional used to build large enterprise level applications. The third point tells us what comes the next. The next section, you will be exploring Django's database integration and core components. So far, we have understood Django's architecture. So now let's learning about the models, ORMs, views, templates, and other important components. So these are the important core components in the Django. So the first core component is the models, and in every model there is written in Python class inside a models.py, and each model automatically becomes a database table. And one advantage of the model is a rapid setup. We only need to define a fields in a Python instead of writing SQL queries. And another advantage is a TypeScript safely. Django validates every field according to its data type. Finally, the Django automatically generates SQL commands in the background. So this makes the database development much easier. Now let's understand the ORM. So ORM stands for Object Relational Mapping. It creates a bridge between Python code and a database. Instead of writing SQL queries, developers can write a simple Python code. Uh, and Django automatically triggers it. And biggest advantage of the ORM is the code becomes cleaner, easier, and database independent. So let's create a simple model. It's creating the model example. Let's how the creating a model. So first step is opening the models.py inside our application. Next, we define a Python class that inherits from the models.models. In the example, we create a suitable model. So it contains three fields. First field is name and then uses char field. Then the second field is a roll number, which uses the integration field, and third field is the email. which uses email field. We also can define str method, which returns the student's name whenever the object is displayed. So now let's learn Python subject updates the database. And we create modify a model, we must update the database. So Django does not use migrations. Migrations are the Django's way of applying model changes to the actual database. The process is very simple. A simple rule to remember is whenever we change a model, always run make migrations followed by the migrate. So now let's one of the most Django's powerful feature is admin panel. One of the biggest advantage of the Django is its built-in admin panel. Unlike many other frameworks, Django automatically generates an admin interface. This means we don't need to create an admin dashboard manually. Using an admin panel, we can manage the users, groups, and permissions. We can also add and edit, view, and delete the records stored in the database. The admin panel is protected using stuff authentication, so only authorized users can access it. And now let's we start the server, and the feature saves the developers a lot of time. So let's understand the views. So views are considered the brain of the Django applications, and the view processes the business logic and it communicates with the model if necessary. Finally, it returns an HTTP response, may contain HTML, JSON data. The code shown here is the example of simple function view. For the larger application, Django also supports the class-based views, which provides reusable object-oriented functionality. Now let's move towards the next core component, are the templates in Django. Templates controls how information is displayed to the users. They are written using HTML along with the Django's template language. And with the templates, Django follows the principle of separating logic from the user interface, making the development much simpler. And moving towards the templates in the Django, the template symbols and now we are discussing the template inheritance. Imagine a website with many pages. Every page usually has the same navigation bar and footer. This approach saves a lot of coding time and reduces a duplication and keeps the websites consistent. So whenever we update the navigation bar in the base template, every page is automatically updated. And now let's see how Django handles the user input using the forms. So forms in Django, forms are used whenever we need to collect information from the users. On this slide, you can see a simple student registration form, a Python class called a student form. Each field is defined using Django form classes such as char field, integration field, and email field. So once users register, they need to log in. Let's see how Django manages the authentication. So this is the authentication system. Authentication meanings verifying the identity of the users before allowing it to access the project pages. And because these features has already built in into Django, developers don't need to create their own login system from the scratch. After login, Django needs to remember who is the user is. This is done using sessions and middleware. The session allows the Django to remember the information about the user between different requests, and the Django stores the session ID inside the browsers using cookies. The middleware is another important component. It sits between the user's request and the application response. So this makes the applications more secure and organized. Now let's summarize all the core components that we have observed. This slide summarizes all the core components of the Django. Models and the ORM manages the database. Views contains the application logic. URL contains the request to correct views. Template displays the final web pages. Forms collects and validates the user input. Authentication manages the users and login. The middleware processes every request before it reaches the applications, where each component has its own responsibility. But together they work as the one complete framework. So now let's look at one of the most common operations performed in web applications, CRUD. So CRUD in Django. So CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. These four operations are the foundation of the most every database driven applications. In simple words, CRUD allows users to manage information effectively. Let's see a real world example of the CRUD using student management system. So here we have student management systems using Django. The user sends a request from the browser, the URL routes the request to the correct view. View performs the required CRUD operations. The model communicates with the database and using ORM. This example demonstrates how all Django components work together to create a complete web applications. Besides managing the data, Django also manages project files. Let's understand static and media files. These files are stored inside a static folder. Media files are uploaded by the users. An example using profile pictures, documents, and resumes and PDFs. So keeping these files separate makes the projects more organized, secure, and easier to manage. So finally, let's see why Django is considered one of the most secure web frameworks. So security is one of the Django's strongest advantage. The first feature is CSRF protection, which is prevents unauthorized from the submissions. So next is SQL injection, prevents attacks from manipulating the SQL queries. Next is XXS protection, to protect the users from the core site scripting attacks. And next is a click checking protection, prevents your sites from being framed and by manipulating the sites. So why Django is secure? Security is built in and not bottom down. One of the most biggest reason is the Django follows secure defaults. This means that many security settings are already enabled by default, so the developers don't have to configure everything manually. So instead of worrying about the security from the scratch, developers can focus on building their application. So now let's move to the another important concept in Django called as class-based reviews. So this slide compares the function-based reviews, also called as FVBs, and class-based reviews, also known as CBVs. The function-based reviews is simply a Python function that handles requests. It is easy to understand. It is suitable for small and medium-sized projects. Whereas as shown in the comparison, CBVs are more reusable, easier to maintain, and follows by the try principle, which stands don't repeat yourself. So from the simple application, we can use function-based reviews, and for the larger and scalable applications, we can use class-based reviews are generally preferred. So now let's see the Django can also be the user to build API for the mobile and web applications. So this slide introduces Django's REST frameworks, commonly used as DRF. So DRF is the powerful toolkit used to build REST APIs. Instead of returning HTML pages, API usually return a data in JSON formats. And API views processes the request, validates the data, and performs requests on the business logic. Because of these features, Django's REST framework is widely used for building secure and scalable backend APIs. After the learning about APIs, let's understand how Django works with the different databases. The One of the Django's biggest strength is that it works with different database systems. By default, Django uses SQLite, which is the lightweight and ideal for the development and small projects. After updating the configuration, we can return the migrations and Django automatically works with a new database. And flexibility allows the developers to choose one of the database that best suitable for these requirements. Besides the storing data in database, application also needs to upload the files. So let's see how Django manages the file uploading. So many web applications requires user to upload the files, and file is uploaded file uploading is very simple. So on the right side we can see that common use cases such as the uploading the model and can later be displayed or downloaded wherever needed. On the right side we can see the common cases such as uploading the file, image, and documents and other files. Because Django already provides built-in supports for the file uploads, developers can easily implement and function it with very little code. Now let's continue with the remaining advanced Django features. At this stage, we have learned almost all important components of Django. Now let's move towards the real world testing. So development overflow from your local machines to the world. After building the testing and developing Django application locally, you can deploy it to the servers, cloud peppers, making it live to the users. So we're moving to the scalability and performance. A well-structured Django applications can handle growth efficiency by optimizing key areas, and you can deliver faster and more reliable projects. So moving towards the conclusion, in the conclusion plan, Django is a secure, scalable, efficient, and developer-friendly framework. So moving towards the real-world applications of the Django, Django is used in e-commerce, social media, content management, education platform, and business dashboards. So popular websites built in Django are the Instagram, Pinterest, Mozilla, Disqus, and NASA. So simple Django project architecture is the users, then login authentication, application logic, and then the database layer and administration panel. So project models are the first is authentication model, user model, admin model, database model, and the front end model. So why choose the Django? Because it has the rapid development, built-in reusable features, and clean architecture. What are the advantages of the Django? Are the rapid development, secure, scalable, clean code, and reusable apps. So limitations of the Django, it is a medium and large applications. It is a strong security by the default, and is a long-term maintainability. So best practices is using the using the environments, follow the conventions, and use the version control. And future of the Django is AI-powered web apps, REST APIs, full-stack dashboards, SaaS projects, and cloud-native apps. So Django as a class. What is the Django? So today we have explored what is the Django, its architecture, its core, and what is used, why it is matter, and why it learned. So key takeaways is Django is a Python-based framework, MVT architecture, secure and scalable, and industry ready. So Django gives you complete dependent foundation, so you can spend more time building, not reinventing the basics. So thank you for your time and attention. I would like to thank to everyone, and I would be happy to have any questions in the comments. Thank you everyone. This is the Sarthak Pawar. Thank you everyone.